Hello, everybody. Welcome to this episode of the Disc Golf Answer Man. I'm Bobby Cool, Daddy Slick Breeze, and my guest today is Mr. Charles Rector. Is that how you pronounce the last name? Just
That's
Rector?
correct. That's
All
correct.
right. And so how I came across Charles is, of course, I was doing my normal disc golf watching on YouTube, and here pops up Masters Line Disc Golf. And I remember the topic was something about throwing over 40 or playing disc golf over 40. I'm like, well, this really applies to me. Let me see what this guy has to say. And I really liked your approach to the whole thing of as you get older, you start realizing that it takes a little bit more. You can still get out and enjoy playing disc golf for many, many, many years, but you got to do a little bit more to make sure that you can continue to play disc golf without injury. And so I thought that was a great message that people need to hear about. So, but anyway, how are you doing today, Charles?
Hey, I'm doing great. Appreciate you having me, and excited to talk with everybody and get this message out.
Yeah. So tell us real quick. I like to ask people what's kind of your elevator pitch. What's your disc golf story?
Well, 2016, I was with some buddies of mine, and we were driving through a campsite, and there was these chains and metal things hanging out in this field. Like, what is that? And they're like, I think it may be something called disc golf. So we pulled up to the ranger station and went in. Sure enough, it was, and they rented us some disc, and we went out, and you know, that was it. We were hooked from that day on. We went and left, and we went and bought our own disc, and have been playing ever since. And it's been a great thing.
Wow, that's cool. That's awesome. And then, so what made you decide to start this YouTube channel? Because you only have like 4 or 5 videos, so it's really just started. Was that your first time ever getting into like content creation, or you done other things in other areas of interest?
No, it was my first time. My son and both my boys and my wife had been on me for a while to do a channel, and I just kept telling them, no, that's not for me. This and that, and then a few years ago, I went through 2024. It was like my injury year. I started out with an injury, and I just kept getting injured and injured, and then finally I tore my meniscus
Mm.
and had to have surgery on it, and I ended up recovering from it pretty good, but that meniscus doesn't heal as you know. So I started realizing pretty quick that, I'm playing, but I'm still aching and I'm limping, and I can't throw the way I was throwing. I can't play as much as I planned because I would go out and try to throw too hard, too much, and I'd end up having to take the next day off. So I was like, man, I really got to look at my game, and started trying to figure out ways I was gonna to prolong me playing because I knew it wasn't gonna last if I was playing the way I am. So uh, after their discussion, I had a buddy of mine who started his own channel, a totally different type, and man, they got louder on me. They're like, "Hey, you got to do a channel," and So I've, being a teacher and a coach, I've always been that kind of person that wants to coach and get that out there. So I was like, "Well, what could I do?" And I got on YouTube, and there's just nothing out there for masters level, dealing with kind of injuries and trying to change your game so you can play. So I thought, well, maybe I can do that. So I started writing and jotting down things and started getting ideas, and it just kind of snowballed. And December, I took the leap and started it, and have my first video up pretty quick after that, and just trying to keep it going.
I love it. I love it. I love the idea of just well, I love that people were trying to get you to do it and that you just finally said, all right, let me just do it. Let me just put it out there and see what happens. I love that. We're going to kind of talk about it in 2 parts because I want to talk about the content creation side of it because I find that interesting. But first, I want to talk about more on the coaching side, the whole point of your channel. So tell us a little bit about what's the message you're trying to get out there with this Masters Line Disc Golf YouTube channel.
Okay. I just like to let people know that we're all going through the same thing. You get online and you try to look up things for masters or anything like that, and you've got a kid bombing something 600 foot, and our bombs don't bomb like that anymore. So, and maybe never bombed like that. But so we're just trying to get something out there where we could say, okay, I can't do that. How do I make adjustments to my game where I can throw, longer? You might have good distance now. You want to keep that distance. So what changes can you do? Because that, for example, that 13 speed disc uh, still may be getting you some distance, but it's going to start tailing off a little bit because you can't get that speed anymore. and all of a sudden you realize, you're throwing a slower speed just discus just as far. And that's what happened to me. As my sheriff and my raider, uh, I was out doing field work, and lo and behold, my brave was sitting there within 10, 15 foot of my sheriff and raider, and I was like, little 7 speed sitting there. What's going on? And I was quickly realizing that I may not be hitting the speed to get that 13 up there where it needs to be. And I wasn't having to work as hard with that 7 speed to get it out there. So I just like to get it out there and let people know different ways to adjust their game. And you know, uh, you know, aspects of the game, like warming up, how important it is. Because I really think going back to my knee injury was a lot of the warming up, because I've not been a great person at warming up early on. I just go start out slow and just start playing, and I really think some of that may have led to that. So trying to get that out there, and just let people know there's a voice out there that's listening, and we're all in it together, and we can figure it out.
So let's start with disc selection. And you mentioned
Hmm.
about that, how you realize that the high speed drivers, you just weren't getting them up to speed. So
Hmm.
how does one determine, how does one start realizing at what point, and this could even be good information for beginners, right? That
Oh
can't
yeah.
quite the disc to get the disc up to speed. So tell us a little bit, break that down in your words about the disc speed and how you need to kind of realize that maybe you're throwing something a little too fast.
Okay. Yeah. So if you're out there and you've got good form, good technique, but that thing is just not pushing as far as it used to. It's starting where it was still carrying, all of a sudden it's starting to fade out a little earlier. That's probably a good sign that you're not hitting that top speed of that distance driver anymore. And the best thing you can do is look kind of like I said with me. I went out and I just did field work, and I just watch how those discs are flying. Are they flying the way they were 5 years ago? You start seeing a little bit of a difference in them. Then throw that 10 speed out there and see what it does. And if it's carrying and getting that little bit of turn that you used to get with the other disc, it's probably a good sign that you're just not hitting that speed anymore. My buddy, he got a motive, and it changed his game. He It's a lighter disc, of course, and it's just a 7 speed, I believe, right?
Uh, I think so. I can look it up
Uh,
while you're talking about it, but
it's
just to make sure.
a little slower speed, and man, it changed his game. It was a funny story. I was in our local disc golf store, local route here in Joplin, Missouri, and I grabbed one. I was like, "Oh, I love the feel of this. This thing's super light. I need to call Rex." And the guy who was working there was like, "Oh, he's already been in and bought 4 of them about 20 minutes ago." So
I love it.
it was perfect. And man, we got out the next day, and he was hitting lines, and he was just, I was like, "Man, that just changed your game." It's just that lighter weight disc and that slower speed. He wasn't having to throw as hard, and he looked at me because my shoulder is even liking it, because he's starting to having some shoulder issue because I don't have to put as much on it. So uh, just kind of listen to your body. If it's aching after you're throwing and you're not getting that distance you were getting, it might be time to just go do some field work and see if that 7 speed, 8 speed, something in there's going to give you that distance you're looking for.
Yeah, I looked it up, it's a speed 8, so yeah, it's one of
Speed
the
8.
it's a more of a considered a fairway driver, but still a great, like you said, there were times where I had that realization where I was throwing the trespass, speed 12, and had to realize that, and then I noticed like, wow, I'm throwing my motive just as far, or some other discs back in the day, and it's kind of almost an ego thing. Sometimes I think it
It's
gets
one.
in people's mind, right? They're like,
Yeah.
I should be, because it seems like speed 12 is the one that everybody goes at for, right?
Yep.
Because the big pros are throwing those speed 12 discs and doing amazing things with it. And so you almost feel like, man, shouldn't I be throwing a speed 12?
Yeah.
If I'm going to be doing this big time level and throwing far, I should be throwing a speed 12. But I had to
Yeah.
come to realize that as well. Okay, so let's say, I guess, well, it sounds like speed 7, speed 8 is a good way or a good one to try out and then kind of go from there. Do
Yeah.
you have any advice for, like, let's say I'm throwing speed 7, speed 8 and it's working pretty good. Does that mean I should start going speed 10, or where should I kind of, is maybe a sweet spot for the people over 40?
But you just kinda look and see if you're throwing that 7 speed, 8 speed, and it's getting a good turn, maybe turning over a little bit more than it should, then you could move up to 9, 10 speed, and just see if it's getting that flight that it. that it says it's supposed to get. If it's not getting a little bit of turn and should be, it's just getting a an immediate fade, then you're probably pushing your upper limits.
Gotcha. Now, what is it? Is anything affected as far as like mid range, as far as speed, or is that a little bit different than treating a distance driver?
Like throwing a mid range, is that what you're asking?
Yeah, like if you're starting to realize, okay, speed 8, speed 9, 7, something like that, it's really good for me because of my age and my skill level. Does that affect the mid ranges that you're picking?
Oh, for me, no. I
Okay.
like my mid ranges. I for me that they're just a disc that you kind of look and point and shoot. If you're trying to get a straight shot, then you're going to get you a compass or something like that. If you're needing that good fade, you're probably going to look at an overstable disc, maybe a Justice or something like that. Um, the it feels like to me that the mid ranges, we all have a easier time getting to the speed that they need to get the
Mm-hmm.
flight that they need. I always try to tell people, in our league, like if they're just coming out, we have a lot of new folks. I'm like, start with a mid range, start working there, and see how you're doing. And once you get those to where they're flying good, then move up to a lower fairway driver and then work your way up. And that's kind of like we talked about, and it's worked well for them.
Yeah, I remember when I first took my wife. Of course, we were dating, so we were just dating, boyfriend girlfriend. But I remember giving her a putter to throw, and then she would see me throw. She goes, "Well, how come I don't can't throw the ones you're throwing?" I was like,
Yeah.
"Trust me, please, trust me." Of course, I did it in a nice way because I was trying to impress her,
Y-
but
Yeah.
obviously, and then it helped me impress her by me throwing. Although I don't throw far, to her, I was throwing very far. So anyway, that's another story for another episode, I suppose.
Yeah.
But yeah, I always tell people to start out with putters or mid ranges because
Mhm.
you're gonna figure out a little bit more about your throw before you get with those high speed drivers.
They
Okay,
tell
so
you the
let's
whole story.
do a
They'll tell you the whole story where your mistakes are.
Yeah, for sure.
They'll
Well,
highlight them.
let's dive into that. So let's say I have a mid range and I go out to the field and start throwing. What am I looking for to tell me what molds I should be picking up?
Well, if you're trying to get, if you're just going out and you're particularly wanting to look for something to throw in a wooded course or something, you're looking for a straight disc, if you will. You're looking for that thing to come out of your hand and stay flat and cruise at 150, 200 foot. And if it's a stable disc, it's gonna stay on that, and then a light fade at the end. And if you're getting a little bit of turnout of it, and that's what you want, that's perfect. If you're getting a little too much, then you may have to look at moving that stability over to a little more stable.
Gotcha. Very cool. All right, so let's switch to actual play. So we're talking for people over 40, right? What do they need to start thinking about as they pull up to the disc golf course and they're ready to play a full 18 hole round? What do we need to start thinking about as a guy over 40 or a man or woman over 40?
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot more thinking than it used to be. It used to be just hop out and go,
Yeah.
meet your buddies and go. But for me, I roll up to the course now, and I'll try to get there. If I'm meeting some friends at 4, I'm usually there 10, 15 minutes early and getting everything around, and I'll start doing my warm ups. Everybody's got their own little warm ups, but I'll go through a 5 minute warm up, and if I'm maybe more sore than usual, I'll go a little longer, work on a certain area, uh, and then I'll even go out and throw a shorter hole a few times, just going through the motions and just getting my body ready and heated up like that. Uh,
Yeah, what are some of the warm up like walk us through is it a routine, a specific routine you do?
I do. I have a specific routine. I've posted a video of one of my habits, but it's I have a band that I
Mhm.
use, and I'll go through some band work with it. Uh, and then I have a rope. It's a flow rope that I do some flow rope drills over my head, just shoulder work. And then I have a weighted bar that I use that I go through throwing motions. I go through shoulder motions, just trying to go through all the motions from a forehand motion to a backhand motion, just trying to get that. And I have my hips and lower back get tight. So if they're feeling tight, I'll go through some stretches with them and warm ups with them too.
How long are you usually doing each little warm up?
Depends. A lot of times I'm going like 30 seconds to a minute,
Mhm.
trying to get each one going. I can tell when it starts to feel like it's getting the blood flowing and getting warm, then I'm feeling pretty good and I'll move on. But like I said, if I'm a little more sore than usual, then I'll stay with that one a little bit longer, trying to make sure that I'm getting it ready.
Gotcha. And then, so okay, so you're getting warmed up, ready to go, ready to throw your first throw. Like, are you thinking that maybe? I mean, I guess what I'm thinking is when I get out there and I'm ready to go, and especially if I'm in tournament mode, right? If I'm playing a tournament,
Hmm.
or if we're like we got some money on the line, I'm with some buddies or something like
Yeah.
that. I tend to maybe kind of throw hard on the first few holes.
Hmm.
What is that telling you? If I'm after one or two holes, I'm starting to feel it in my shoulder. What's that kind of telling me?
You may need to just slow up that day. You may have
Yeah.
slept wrong. A lot of things with our bodies. You know as well as I do. You can go to bed feeling great and wake up and you got in some kind of fight in your dream and you're sore everywhere. You're looking like Michael Keaton Batman everywhere.
Yeah.
So it would immediately tell me that I need to address it and uh, don't throw as hard, lay up a little bit, slow up a little bit on my approach, and just work on my movements and not worry about that $5 you got with a buddy. Because I know sometimes it's not the money; it's just them. That's kind
Yeah.
of what this belt's for back here.
Yeah, yeah, I see the belt. For our,
Yeah.
audio listeners, you need to go check out the YouTube video and see this belt he's got behind him because we're gonna get into that here in a little bit. Tell me real quick, like, is there anything different I'm putting in my bag to help as a over 40-year-old playing?
Well, I always carry what I call ibuprofen. So all the guys around here, but I have my knee brace I carry in case I need it. I have just biofreeze, just things like that. In case I feel some aches coming on, I'll biofreeze them. And that's my big ones there.
Yeah. Is there anything that you're doing different during your round to kinda make sure that you're taking care of your body?
Once I'm warmed up, I'm just playing and I'm
Okay.
I'm I'm trying to make sure that I'm focused. Uh, and as long as I don't have any, like you said, little pains come up, I don't adjust my game. I know I've warmed up and I know I'm ready to go. But if anything starts, ailments start showing up, then that's when I'm like, okay, there's a red flag. I need to stretch in between holes, or I need to uh, start lighting up something. I tweaked something, and it's like I do. Sometimes it'll pass in a couple holes, and
Mhm.
you're like, okay, it was just a warning shot across the bow. I'm good.
Any advice on, any particular type of shoes that help out?
Oh, there's for me, I have my Vans I wear now. I like those. I feel like for my planting and turning my leg, I get a better, smoother release on that. I was throwing in some shoe like running shoes, but I think it's all based on what you like. I know for me, I like something that I can walk in and get done with the round. And I don't feel like my legs are dead.
Yeah.
Um,
And you said you've been playing since 2016, is that what you said?
yes, sir.
In 2016? How old were you in 2016?
39.
39, okay, so pretty close. So, as you've aged, has anything changed in your form as you get older?
Well, when I first started playing, I was forehand only.
Oh,
I had shoulder surgery, and I went out and we played, and it was killing me. I was like, I can't throw backhand, and so I started throwing forehand. And then as I played longer, I started getting my form down, and my shoulder doesn't bother me anymore. I throw backhand predominantly now. Um, so the big key for me was just working on my form and technique and making sure that I'm not activating the wrong muscles that I don't need to be activating when I throw. Um, that's about the biggest thing that's changed for me on that, besides adapting to a lame knee.
mm. So, how I guess So you said mentioned something about making sure that you don't you don't stress out certain parts of your shoulder and things like that. How do you make sure that you don't do that? How do you make sure that you're okay, especially if you because yeah, guys over 40 or like me hitting 50s.
Yeah.
I thankfully I haven't had to do any kind of shoulder surgery. Now I've had to have some physical therapy because for
Mhm.
I can't remember what I was doing. I was lit when I was lifting a lot and I did something and I could barely lift up my backpack that had just a laptop in it because my shoulder hurt so bad. So I had some physical therapy done. And every time I would tell my buddies, my shoulder, like, dude, it's coming. You're gonna have to have shoulder surgery. And then I start hearing the thing about knee surgery. And as soon as they say wait as long as you can because then what is it, after 10 years, 15 years, you have to do it again or something like
Yeah.
that.
Yep.
So tell me about that. So what am I concentrating to make sure that I'm making sure that my shoulder doesn't get worked too much to where I'm gonna progress needing shoulder surgery?
So a lot of the throwing, a lot of people, when you first start, you're pulling a lot with that shoulder. You think you're throwing like a frisbee, where you're throwing with your shoulder here, where it's more of a rotational movement, and you're getting the disc here and letting your lower body, upper body work together. Where like when I was hurting myself, I was trying to let my shoulder do all the work, and I was trying to muscle it
Mm,
with my tricep and shoulder. And so if you'll get to where you're using the whole body and keeping it tight into you and letting momentum release the disc and not you, that makes a big difference. That's what it was for me. I had poor technique. We had, like I said, we had never even seen a basket, and we were out there just trying to throw, and we were like, okay, it's got to be like a frisbee, and we were just muscling it, and I was working those shoulder muscles, just those delts incorrectly, where you don't use them as much as you think. It's just more of holding that there, and then it's more of the momentum here releasing it. So
gotcha. What about footwork? Anything changed as you progress in age with footwork?
yeah, I don't have a very big approach anymore.
Oh, okay.
I have a shorter approach. I don't have a lot of the guys you'll see, they'll need an entire pad, and I don't use the entire pad. I just need a shorter approach. I can get through my X step for my basically my timing, and I've worked on trying to get that perfected. That little area where uh, I can hone it in and get as much distance as I can from having that timing correctly.
Very
And
cool.
like,
All right, so let's talk about that belt you got behind you. That big. It makes me think of the WWE or WWF, whatever they are
yeah.
nowadays.
Yeah. So it's a replica belt. It's the real deal. So about 6, 7 years ago, I told my wife, I was like, "Hey, I got to come up with a trophy for the guys and I to have. We always have these little competitions." And she's a garage seller, and within a week, she come home with this thing, and she's like, "Look what I got." She's like, $5. She goes, "This lady said I could get it for $5 to get out of here. She's tired of it being at her house." I think she'd sell it for cheaper now, but, uh, she brought it home, and this thing is, the real deal. It's pretty awesome. So there me and my buddies, when we get time together, we play for it, and then it stays at the winner's house. So
Nice.
I
That's awesome.
it's been a fun time. You play around here at different tournaments. You'll have people come up and ask, "Who's got the belt now?" Because if you win it, you wear it at the tournament afterwards. So
I love it. That's cool.
it's yeah. We're childish. You know how it is.
That's all right.
So
Anything to kind of put something online. That's something that me and Eric always tell people. Sometimes, go out and be casual, just have a good time. But
yep.
sometimes put something on the line just to make you try a little bit harder.
Oh, that belt's serious.
I bet it is. Excuse me. Man. Pardon. Let's walk through a few. I know I do this all the time, and I'm sure my listeners probably get tired of it, but I bounce around because I think of new questions. Let's go back to discs. Okay.
Okay.
Walk me through a couple of your go-to drivers.
Okay. My go-to driver is probably my Grace. I really like my Grace. It's I've got a beat-in one, and then I've got a new one, and I know I'm going to get a reliable flight out of it. And follow that up. I like my Musket. It's a great disc for me. I know it's going to give me a good flight with a little bit of a S pattern, but probably my favorite's my Brave. I've got a couple Braves that It's just a 7-speed, but man, that thing, it can get some distance and it just goes straight as an arrow for me. Those are my top 3 discs.
What are you grabbing? You grabbing anything different on like super windy days, or do you even have super windy days up there?
Oh, yeah, we have windy days down here. We're Kansas, so
Oh, okay, then yeah.
yeah, yeah, we get those here. If I'm throwing windy, I'm grabbing probably my Rive. I know it's gonna fight it. I also have a Fortress, a 10-speed Fortress, and, uh, and I have my Glory, my 7-speed Glory. It's gonna fight wind well. If I'm forehanding, I like my Defender. I like my forehanding with my Defender.
Nice. All right, let's jump to the content creation part because that's just I love talking content creation, and I know a lot of people out there are wanting to do something like that, something similar. So, tell me what is kind of your process when you're like, how do you plan out your ideas and how do they turn into eventually being published on YouTube?
Boy, that's a good question. It's, uh, it's been such a whirlwind. I kinda just made an outline of things that I thought we should, would be good to talk about. And like the 5 habits is kind of okay. What's there some habits? And I kind of came up with the 5 that for me seemed to be the best. And I thought, well, maybe that'll work for others. So once I got that, then I kind of went from the habits and I broke each one individually down. And, being a coach, it wasn't too hard for me to kind of script out things because I coached football for a long time, and I'd go out and script every practice. So when it came to this, I was just kind of handled it the same way. Like here's what I want to talk about. Here's kind of how I want to talk about it. I need to film it. That was the tricky one is trying to film and get you asked me a month ago what a hook was. I wouldn't have been able to tell you, and how important CTR is. I had no idea. My son was the one, he come in, I'm like, "All right, check my video out." And he would look at it and he goes, "No, we need to do this. That's not gonna help with," and he holds nothing back. So, but that's how I kinda did it. I just kinda lay out my idea and then, and start, "Okay, I'm gonna do warm-ups. Here's how I do my warm-ups," and kinda, uh I don't know if I'd word for word because you know how it is when you get up.
Yeah.
I kinda had this scripted what we were gonna talk about, and it's out the door. Uh, so, uh, but, you kinda get an idea how long you wanna talk about it and a ballpark and, try to stick around that, and again, that doesn't always fall into place at all, but that's kinda I think that's kinda what you're asking, I'm hoping.
Yeah. Yeah. So what are the plans? What do you where do you hope to see this go?
Um, you know My long plan is, I'm gonna be retiring in a few years, and it'd be fun to have this as a hobby still going and, being able to, continue on with it. I'd like to continue in helping people improve. It's gonna be, I'll be in masters for the rest of my life now, so I've got some times I can look at the different divisions and adjust.
Nice. I like it. I like it. I didn't even look. Do you do anything on Instagram or Facebook or just YouTube?
I have an Instagram, a TikTok, and a Facebook.
Okay. That's awesome. All right, and I'll obviously put links to all of that in the show notes when this gets published. So now something that I have brought that was on my last episode, someone reminded me that I forgot. I've been forgetting to do this. And when I interview people, I thought it'd be kind of interesting to have you have an opportunity to ask a question. You can either ask me a question, and we can kind of change it up and say, or ask the audience a question. So. Um, I don't know. Is there a question that you have for me or a question you have to ask the audience?
Uh, you know, well, you got me. I watched one of your videos today where you did that, and I was like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna have a question ready, and it's gone. It's gone. Um, what discs do you like to throw? What are your top 3 drivers?
Oh, yeah. So for the longest time before I came back to before when I was dynamic discs, about 4 years ago, I was throwing the Renegade a lot. That became something, and then now that was about a speed 11. And then the trespass on windy conditions. That was kind of my go-tos. But now coming back to dynamic discs, and of course I was with Clash Disc for a little bit, helping them out. But for about a year and a half, I didn't play hardly any disc golf because I was working at Shields. So I really lost a lot of my form and technique. Not that it was anything big, but you know what I'm saying. After a while, you don't do it for a while, you
Yeah.
kind of lose it. So I had to step back. And so right now, the treason is throwing really, really good for me. In fact, I'm doing a YouTube series on my personal channel where I kind of a reset for the year. I want to get to where I'm throwing usable. I'm calling it better distance or usable distance because I'm not looking to break any records or go for max. You know, I'm not looking to brag about my max distance, but I want to get to the point where I just noticed when I would go out and play casual and then started doing videos, I was getting a lot of bogeys and a lot of double bogeys, and that was getting frustrated. So I want to get to the point where I'm doing pars or birdies, right? Because I always hate it when people say, you know, when you're out there doing poorly, it seems like someone says, "Oh well, most fun wins." Well, I'm not having fun getting a bunch of bogeys and double bogeys, right?
Mm-mm. Nope.
When I was playing pickleball a lot, I would play and want to win. Um, in the video series, I'm using the treason I set a base where, okay, I threw 5 times the treason and I'm going to measure the furthest throw and I'm going to work on improving my distance throughout the YouTube series. So that was a long way of saying yes, the treason is kind of my go-to distance driver. But I have noticed the heist has a little bit of a turn for me, and I really like that one. Now that one is if there's some wind going on, I can trust the heist. Whereas the treason might flip a little bit too much for me in some windy conditions, so I like the heist. And then the other one is if I need some straight distance, or if I need it to finesse a little bit, I do grab the motive. I don't get it. I haven't thrown it and tested it to see side by side if the treason or the motive is better. But I have noticed times that I can get the motive at a good workable distance if I've got to keep it in a tight fairway. So that's what I do. And then I know we said just a handful, but number 4, which is going to go, it's in my bag, but it was the mystery disc, and it's a disc that's being released this year that I can't tell you the name quite yet, but they sent us early prototypes, and I am loving that thing. And it's a lightweight, just like the motive. It's a lightweight driver that just goes so straight for me, just nice and straight. So I'm working that in my bag. So when that becomes a regular release, that'll be one in my bag for sure.
That's huge. Lightweight discs are so hard to find. You know,
Yes.
I tell people, I'm like, you can disc down by either dropping speed or get a lighter weight disc, and it's sometimes that's a hard game to do,
Yeah.
especially if your favorite disc is like a destroyer or something like that, and you're like, where am I going to find that? You know, they're out there, but they're unicorns.
Yeah.
But
Well, and then this mystery disc, I've noticed that I've thrown it in wind, and now not super windy, but when there's a little bit of wind, when I'm a little bit nervous about the wind kind of grabbing it, that it still holds really good as a straight line. So I really like that.
you were talking about that, your distance and stuff. It's like I always say, you know, your distance fades, but your smarter golf has to improve. And that's where
Yeah.
you were talking about, you know, that distance not there. You just don't want those bogeys, and that's the truth, man. You can have
Yeah.
a round of pars and you feel good about it, but you throw one bogey in there, you just can't quit talking about that bogey.
No, and it's like you wanna go back to that course and beat that hole again. You wanna
Yes.
figure that hole
Yeah.
out. So,
Yeah. It's
yeah, so but getting better distance is gonna be part of kind of this whole journey. And then, of course, as I work on the distance, I was obviously working on getting more accurate with my up shots and then work on my putting. But I mean, everybody knows that everybody will loves to have good distance. Distance is the answer for everything. You know, accuracy is also part of the game. And then of course it depends on the course, right? Some
mm,
courses it's not that helpful if you have a lot of distance. You gotta learn how to
yeah.
get it in the fairways. But I think the first step into improving and having more fun out on the course is getting better workable distance for sure.
100%. You get in that wooded golf though, it's a whole new ball game there.
I know.
It's a different animal, but
Yeah, I'll have to travel
everybody
somewhere.
no, go
Everybody
ahead.
what? Oh, I was just saying I'm gonna figure out how I can find, because I don't know. I can think of a few courses in the Oklahoma area that have wooded courses, but not very wooded, not like some of the other courses outside of
Well,
Oklahoma.
come down here to Baxter. We got us a wooded course here, and then you go down the road, we can hit McClellan. We can get
Yeah.
some wooded courses pretty quick.
Yeah. Let me
I
get better
help.
at distance before I get mad at hitting every tree.
I hear you.
Let me
Yeah.
work on one thing at a time.
So,
Well, awesome. All right. Any other questions?
that's it. You know, looking forward to coming up there for GBO, or is it GBO?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
GBO. Glass won't open coming up in the end of June, a different time than last year. So I'm excited. In fact, we were talking about the whole marketing campaign behind it. You're gonna start seeing even more and more posts about GBO. So if you guys need to figure it out, go to glassboneopen.com and get more details, because there's some other events happening here in Emporia that have nothing to do with disc golf, but they're going to take up some of the Airbnbs and some of the hotels. So you need to get booked early and fast before they get booked up. So, well, Charles, I appreciate you being on the show. I appreciate and I loved learning a little bit more about you. And hopefully, well, I mean, I don't want to say hopefully, but yes, let's still stay connected. Maybe have you come back back on the show after 6 or 8 months or something like that. See where you're at in your YouTube channel. Would that be good?
That'd be great. I appreciate you having me, and looking forward to seeing your game improve. And when I'm up there at GBO, we'll have to get around in.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to play around with you, Charles, when you come down. Now, I might be a little busy, but I might be able to squeeze in a quick round or two or something like that when you come down.
Oh, that'd be great. We always go up. My buddy, his parents live in Opie,
Oh,
and
okay.
they have a full basement. So they just, they do everything for us. They love having company, breakfast in bed. No,
That's,
no,
maybe I need to
I'm
come
just
stay there. That'd be nice. I
no,
love it.
but we always have a good time there. So we get there pretty early in the week and get and hang out basically before the rounds get started. And
That's awesome.
so
All right, man. Well, I appreciate it again. Take care.
yep. Take care. Appreciate you.